announce some specific legal conclusions. Now, I do want to mention up front that this is an ongoing investigation. There are other aspects that will still need to be looked into. However, there are some specific things that relate to specific aspects regarding what's known as justification in an officer-involved shooting that I am able to definitively answer for you at this time. So what I want to do is start off with some of the basic aspects. From between 10:35 a.m., approximately that time, and 11:13 a.m., an incident occurred here at UPMC Memorial Hospital that involved an individual by the name of Diogenes Archangel Ortiz. His date of birth 11/4/75. This individual entered the hospital, and he entered carrying with him a bag that did include a handgun and zip ties. That becomes important for what he did later on. He went straight to the ICU, and in the ICU, this individual went and held hostage members of the UPMC staff. In total, he wound up discharging his firearm and struck 3 members of the UPMC staff. One was a doctor who was grazed, the other was a nurse and a custodian who are in stable condition at this time. There was, from our understanding at this time, a 4th individual who fell and did suffer injury, who was part of medical staff due to the fall, but not struck by the discharged firearm. And additionally, there were UPMC officers that responded right away to try to alleviate the harm that occurred. And in fact, this individual, Diogenes Archangel Ortiz, did discharge his firearm at UPMC officers. He did hold individuals hostage, and that led to contacting the authorities and to the response of multiple law enforcement agencies, which include the following: the West York Borough PD, the West Manchester Township PD, and we are located within West Manchester Township Police Department region, the Northern York County Regional Police Department, Spring-Itsbury Township Police Department, Spring Garden Township Police Department, York City Police Department, Newbury Township Police Department, the Pennsylvania State Police, York County detectives from the District Attorney's Office, the York County Sheriff's Department, and overall the York County Quick Response Team, which is made up of highly trained individuals from throughout this county. Together, they came to go ahead and alleviate the harm of the situation and to go ahead and see if they could mitigate anyone from further suffering any damage from being shot or any other scenario like that. What had occurred then was there was a formation that was formed by law enforcement that was highly professional as they went to go ahead and engage Mr. Archangel Ortiz. What had occurred at that point is when they went to go ahead and breach in formation, the ICU, the individual was holding at gunpoint a member of the UPMC staff and ordered the police to get back to behind the doors. They did, so that as the person being held hostage would not be harmed, and were attempting to try to engage in discussion with Mr. Archangel Ortiz. At that time, they proceeded to go into further formation to work on how they were going to approach the individual. When he came out, Mr. Diogenes Archangel Ortiz came out holding at gunpoint a member of the UPMC staff who was also had her hands tied with the aforementioned zip ties. Holding her at gunpoint, coming out into the hallway, the officers, left with no recourse, did open fire and did shoot and kill Diogenes Archangel Ortiz. During the course of the armed confrontation that was caused by Mr. Archangel Ortiz, there were 3 officers who were struck. An officer from Northern York County Regional Police Department and an officer from Spring-Itsbury Township Police Department were both struck, and they are in stable condition. However, Officer Andrew Duarte from the West York Borough Police Department was fatally struck and killed. This is a huge loss to our community. The first thing that I have to do is to announce the legal business at hand. As I stated, I personally watched surveillance videos, and I was able to hear firsthand interview statements that were made by officers who were present and there and who saw what occurred. I was also privy to receive statements from individuals who work for UPMC. In reviewing all of that evidence, it is absolutely clear and beyond any and all doubt that the officers were justified in taking their action and using deadly force. Quite frankly, they needed to use deadly force because by doing so, they potentially saved even more lives, even as they lost one of their own. I want to greatly thank our partners that I mentioned in law enforcement and with UPMC. They showed great bravery, great heroism. They are the reason why we are safe and why we can function. And as York Countyans, they are the backbone and lifeblood of our county. We need, as York Countyans, to come together to support our law enforcement community who is hurting right now with the loss of Officer Duarte. And we need to rally around our healthcare workers in York County as they have suffered a grave harm, an unwarranted harm, and an unnecessary harm. I will say that this did appear to be targeted at the ICU. We do have, and while this information is being developed further, I can say at this time that Diogenes Archangel Ortiz did appear to have contact previously in the week with the ICU for a medical purpose involving another individual. Information regarding all of that is going to be generated further in the future. We do not have any further information to provide at this time. But obviously, if you are arriving at a hospital with a firearm and zip ties and immediately proceed to a specific area and engage in these actions, that this was targeted on the part of Mr. Archangel Ortiz. My heart, along with everybody else in York County, breaks. In 27 years, it's been very rare that we've had to have a press conference like this in York County. We must come together and we must achieve peace. And please pray for everyone, and especially pray for the family and loved ones of Officer Andrew Duarte. May he rest in peace. Job well done, life well served. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our governor, Josh Shapiro.
Thank you, Mr. District Attorney. Let me say that here in York County today, we saw the very best and the very worst of humanity. The District Attorney laid out the worst of humanity, the act of a coward here in this UPMC Memorial Hospital. Let it not be lost on anyone the act of extraordinary bravery and courage by the healthcare workers here, by the law enforcement professionals, the state and local and here at the hospital level, who ran toward danger to keep people safe. I know that because of their work, lives were saved today here at UPMC Memorial. I know that because they answered the call and ran toward danger, lives were saved. Sadly, we lost one of those heroes today, as the district attorney announced. Officer Duarte was the best of us. He was someone who put on the uniform of service and went out to try and keep his neighbors safe. He is to be commended for a life of service, albeit cut way too short, but a life of service to others. We're deeply grateful to him. We're deeply grateful to all of law enforcement who answered the call today and ran immediately toward danger. As the DA cited the various departments that came, I want to thank them, and I also want to thank the Pennsylvania State Police, led by Colonel Christopher Paris and Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, who joined me here today. All state resources, including that of PEMA, we're joined by Randy Padfield here, were brought to bear. This was an example of government working together at all levels. I want to thank Senator Kiefer and Representative Grove, who are with us. And I want to take a moment to thank your county government and county leaders as well. Commissioner Wheeler has made clear that the county will provide all resources necessary to make sure that those who need help, particularly with their mental health over the coming days and weeks and months, will have the support they need from York County. This is an example of government working together at every single level. I want to thank the former District Attorney of York County and, of course, now our Attorney General, Dave Sunday, for being here. And I want you to know that my office has been in direct communication with the White House all day today. We want to thank President Trump and his administration for their concern for our community. We have all the resources that we need going forward to make sure that we keep people safe and that we are able to help people heal. I want to take a moment to speak about those healthcare workers. Obviously, we pray for a full and speedy recovery for those who were injured today. But I know that the trauma that the healthcare workers here today had to deal with is not something that goes away overnight. Every day when you put on your white coat or your uniform of service to others here in this wonderful hospital or any hospital across Pennsylvania, you are performing that function because you care about your neighbors and you want to make sure that they are healthy and safe. Something like this should never, ever happen in your place of work. And we'll continue to work with you, our state and local leaders, to make sure that you have the resources and the services you need to be able to perform your functions. I've spoken to Leslie Davis, the CEO of UPMC, and I know that the hospital and the health system will provide whatever resources that you need in order to make sure you are able to heal. It is, for me, another painful reminder of how tragedy can come to a community in a split second. But it is also an uplifting reminder of how neighbors in this great Commonwealth always reach out to help neighbors, coworkers helping coworkers, and of course law enforcement being there to ensure the safety and well-being of a community. Tonight, we pray for this community, and especially for the Duarte family. A life cut short, but a life of service and meaning and purpose. And I offer my blessings and that of my wife, Lori, our First Lady, our family, and the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We pray for strength for this community. We pray for healing for this community. And we pray for the family of Officer Duarte. I know that the team here at UPMC has a lot of work to do to both take care of patients and to heal themselves. And we're grateful that Elizabeth Ritter is here with us today representing UPMC in her leadership role. Elizabeth, I know this is not something that you ever would want to have to grapple with in your workplace, but we are grateful for your leadership here. And it's my pleasure to turn the microphone over to you at this time.
Thank you. We're grateful today to all law enforcement officers who responded so bravely, as well as our outstanding leaders and staff who immediately responded and continue to work together to support our employees, our patients, and their families. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone who was exposed to this terrible event, and we are so grateful for the outpouring support that we've received from so many of our colleagues here. Thank you.
I think with that, The DA and I will be happy to try and take some questions. I don't imagine we'll be able to offer any more detail on the investigation, but certainly if there are any general questions, we'll be happy to try and answer them for you.
Can you say again the condition of the people who were also injured?
I'll leave that to the DA or the hospital.
Our information that we have at this time is that everybody else is in stable condition who had been shot. One individual was grazed and in fact did not need to go for anywhere else for further care. The other individuals, they have received medical care but are stable to the best of our information at this time.
And Deanne, you said there was a nurse, a doctor, and I apologize, who was the third one?
A custodian.
Custodian.
Yes, that's based upon the information that we were able to obtain at this point through the investigation.
Do you know how many were held hostage with zip ties?
At this point in time, it would be speculative to say the exact number. We can definitively say one individual that is being reviewed to see if it was the same individual being referred to at other points in time. So I can't speculate, and that will be subject of the further investigation.
Do you know what kind of firearm was used?
This would have been a handgun, a semi-automatic, if I recall correctly. I do not know more specifics yet in terms of other ballistics testing. Ballistics testing will occur. That will be ongoing.
Any information about where the individuals were shot? You said the doctor was grazed, but can you give any more clarification about their injuries?
At this point in time, I would not do so because we do not want to provide any misleading information. While we do have general information, it is general in character. Given the personal nature of an individual being harmed, we would not want to do anything to create any misinformation.
Did Mr. Ortiz shoot anyone, or were the other people who were shot possibly shot as in the process of sort of a friendly fire scenario?
So at this point in time, there's aspects that are part of an ongoing investigation in terms of certain situations and scenarios. I will say this definitively, that we do know that Mr. Archangel Ortiz did shoot other individuals. The exact trajectory and nature of some of those gunshot wounds and how they occurred, that is subject to the further investigation.
Was the person who was treated earlier in the week, was that a relative of his, and was that person still in the ICU at this time?
So for purposes of privacy, until we're ready to go ahead and reveal those further aspects, we're not going to comment further. We do have information regarding that individual, but quite frankly, that individual's family, their relatives, there's notifications that would need to go through this way. So we would prefer not to say anything further about that at this time. We're trying to be very respectful to the sensitive privacy interests and nature of what all had occurred.
Does the hospital have metal detectors? Is that something?
So in terms of their security procedures, that's something that would be best left for further discussion. With the hospital, our focus at this point in time is on the criminal investigation in and of itself. I will say this, that the UPMC police officers did rush right in and tried to alleviate any harm, and they were, like their fellow colleagues in law enforcement, they ran into gunfire when other individuals like us get to run away.
Can you just clarify the number of individuals shot, not including Ortiz?
So, to the best of our information at this point in time, in terms of individuals who were actually struck by gunshots and had suffered gunshot wounds, that total is 6 individuals, 3 medical personnel, 3 law enforcement personnel.
And then can you just say, or rather, can you spell the suspect's name?
Yes. This is the spelling that we have, and so this is accurate to the best of our knowledge. Diogenes is D-I-O-G-E-N-E-S. Archangel is A-R-C-H-A-N-G-E-L hyphen Ortiz, O-R-T-I-Z.
Where do you live?
So that further demographic information is all part of the ongoing investigation that we are gathering at this point in time.
One more. Did this happen in front of patients, other patients?
The best way to put it is this: it did happen in an area where individuals were being treated, and clearly medical personnel was. To the extent that other patients were aware or impacted or affected by what occurred, that would be subject to further criminal investigation. However, one thing that I would note, that is not information that we would necessarily want to so readily share, because again, these are private patients who have very, very heightened privacy interests, that we would want to make sure that their well-being is secured. But it is in an area of the hospital where patients are seen.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you were just listening to District Attorney Timothy Barker there addressing the media regarding this ongoing investigation after 6 people were shot this morning at York Memorial Hospital, 10:35 a.m., from 10:35 a.m. to 11:13. So we're going to walk you through exactly what happened. He just broke down exactly the timeline of what had happened. This man, the suspect known as Diogenes Archangel Ortiz, was said to have shot at officers. He held people hostage. He came into the ICU area, which they are saying seemed to be targeted. They are trying to figure out what exactly his motive was. They do say 3 officers were hit, 3 medical personnel were also hit. So 6 people in total have been shot. Again, this is earlier today at about 10:35 this morning. You're looking at some of the video from earlier today as this all unfolded. The governor, of course, addressed the media as well. He said, "Today we saw the very best and very worst of humanity." He talked about the courage and bravery by healthcare workers and law enforcement. He said, of course, they run towards danger to keep others safe, and that's exactly what happened earlier today. We do know 5 people were treated at WellSpan York Hospital. Everyone is in stable condition at this time, aside from, as we've said, the shooter, Diogenes Archangel Ortiz, who is said to be dead, and also the officer, Andrew Duarte from West York Borough. He has also been killed. We've learned more about the officer who has died. He had been a police officer for more than 6 years, according to his LinkedIn. He spent 5 years with the Denver Police Department in Denver, Colorado, before becoming an officer in West York. He began working at West York only 3 years ago, so he had only been on the force since June of 2022. He received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice, political science from Penn West, California, and Western Pennsylvania. So obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Officer Duarte's family and, of course, the entire West York Borough Police Department. Fox 43's Tyler Poglish has been on the scene for several hours now, and he's joining us live. Tyler, if you can, just walk us through what exactly you saw and what you experienced from the moment you got there today.
Yeah, Amy, at around 11:15, 11:30 this morning when I arrived here at the hospital, I was making my way up Roosevelt Ave, where there was just a heavy police presence all over the place, where there was people inside of the parking lot or fire police directing traffic that was making its way through the area. At that point, I made my way over to OSS's parking lot, where I got just a general overview of the entire area, and there was just an overwhelming amount of police officers here at the scene, and it's just been an ongoing scene all day long. It's been a very eerie feeling here at the hospital with everything going on, and like we've mentioned, we heard the news of the officer who passed away just about 2 hours ago when we learned that while we were on air, and it just brought more tragic news from today's events. This is still such a very ongoing scene, and we're here behind the hospital right now where there's less of a police presence here, but Governor Shapiro was right here behind us giving that press conference just a few moments ago, and we'll continue to keep you updated as we gather more information, which is going to be coming out in the next several days on today's events.
All right, Tyler, thank you so much. We appreciate your reporting. Again, we can bring you the very latest, what we just heard from that press conference. We are going to go to Fox 43's Sydney Nauman in just a moment, who was inside attending the press conference. She's going to keep us updated on the very latest there. But again, we heard from District Attorney Timothy Barker on their ongoing investigation. He says 6 people total were shot, 3 medical personnel, and 3 law enforcement officers. This happened between 10:35 a.m. and 11:13 when the suspect, Diogenes Archangel Ortiz, entered UPMC Hospital. He had a bag with him, they said, that had at least one gun. One doctor, he shot one doctor and a nurse and a custodian. They are all said to be in stable condition. They said a 4th individual fell, but they said was not hit by firearm. Many agencies, of course, responded. This was a big group effort. Again, 3 officers were hit, one from Northern York County Regional, one from Springettsbury Township. Again, both of those officers are said to be in stable condition. Andrew Duarte from West York Borough, was in fact killed. The governor talked about how today was just an awful, tragic situation, one that you never want to hear about or see in your own community, but we do, and we do hear about this and see it. He said we've seen the very best and the very worst of humanity. He talked a lot about the courage and the bravery by those healthcare workers who were, forced to run towards the danger. We do know that he apparently had someone, he was holding them hostage. So it just really sounds like one of the most terrifying experiences for those workers. Again, we are learning new details by the hour. Of course, we're going to keep you updated. We do want to talk with Sydney Nauman if she is, working on getting to us. But again, this was at UPMC Memorial Hospital. We did have a statement from WellSpan York Hospital. They said that they received 5 of those patients from this incident. 6 people total were shot. They talked about the emergency department evaluating those members and that they weren't really able to share more details, but they are working, of course, to give us more information as soon as they can. We do know Andrew Duarte, the officer from West York Borough who was killed, was on the police force for not very long. We looked at his LinkedIn page, and according to his profile, he had been a police officer for more than 6 years, obviously very young still in his career. He had spent 5 years with the Denver Police Department before becoming an officer in West York. We do know that he was awarded, this is also on his LinkedIn, he worked as a patrol and DUI DRE enforcement officer. He highlighted a couple of awards as well on there. He was the top student award for outstanding academic achievement when he completed drug recognition expert school, and one from Mothers Against Drunk Driving again in 2021. So this is an officer who took his job very seriously, and he will be deeply missed. I know the governor mentioned just how awful something like this is and how incredible it is to see the community come together and really be there for one another. And that is exactly what we are going to need to do here in York County. As we continue to learn more about the shooting, Diogenes Archangel Ortiz is said to be the suspect who is now dead, but that he had shot at officers and held at least one person hostage. Many agencies, again, responded to this. 3 officers were hit. Northern York County Regional Police, Springettsbury Township, one officer from each of those units was hit. They are said to be in stable condition. Again, that is good news. They talked about the employees. I know the District Attorney, Timothy Barker, talked about the employees, saying they could really use our help and support at this time. Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine what they experienced and what they went through, and we really need to come together as a community. They mentioned that as well. All right, so we are going to go over this one more time for you. Again, this all started at about 10:35 a.m. this morning when Diogenes Archangel Ortiz entered the hospital with a bag and a gun and zip ties. He apparently used those zip ties to tie people up. At least one person he held hostage at one point. 3 officers were hit by him. Northern York County Regional, Springettsbury Township, both had officers that were hit. They are said to be in stable condition right now. Andrew Duarte was the officer from West York Borough Police who was shot and killed. Again, he is said to be only on that force for about 3 years now. He joined in June of 2022. Earlier today, we heard from the district attorney in York County, and he talked about what exactly went on and how it is important now as a community to come together to support the law enforcement officers who were impacted. He talked about how, getting over an event like this and experiencing something like this is not going to go away anytime soon. He said it's a process, and as everyone comes together, they're going to rebuild and regroup. And right now, this is what we know. We know that a fourth individual also was hurt, apparently had fallen, but again, 6 people shot total. So 6 people, 3 medical personnel, and 3 law enforcement. Every one of them, except for one, is said to be in stable condition at this time. Again, this is an ongoing investigation, but the situation is now over. Fox 43's Cindy Nauman was at a press conference with the governor just about 20 minutes ago. She is joining us now with the very latest, and I know, Cindy, you can probably update us a little bit more on what exactly the governor and the DA had to say.
Yeah, Amy, the governor spoke about the commitment and bravery of officers both at the hospital who charged into the situation to help out, as well as local officers from multiple municipalities. Now, the Attorney General said this is the first time they've had to have a press conference of this magnitude in approximately 27 years. So the hearts were heavy, definitely, at this press conference today. What we know right now is the shooter has been identified as Diogenes Archangel Ortiz. Further information about where he's from and motive have not been released at this time, as this is an ongoing investigation. What they do know is between 10:35 this morning and 11:13, Archangel Ortiz entered the hospital with a bag with a handgun and zip ties. Upon arriving to the ICU, he held members of the UPMC staff hostage, holding them at gunpoint. In the incident, 3 members of UPMC staff and 3 officers were struck, causing them to be transported to hospital for care. They have since been updated as they are in stable condition. And as of right now, we do know that the shooter has been killed and the hospital is back in safety. That's all that was shared during the press conference. This is an ongoing investigation, and more information will be released as that is released to the public.
All right, Sydney, thank you so much. Do we still have Fox 43's Tyler Poglish? Okay. All right. Well, Sydney, we appreciate your report. Thank you so much. We'll check back in with you in a little bit. In the meantime, that's all we have. And of course, we will keep you updated on any new information as soon as we get it.